Welcome students to the part 3 of pharmacotherapy of type 2 diabetes mellitus. In this presentation, I will be explaining the pharmacology of dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitors and glucagon-like peptide 1 analogs. Together, this is known as incretin-based treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus. First, let us learn the pharmacology of the glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1 receptor agonists. The examples being exenatide, liraglutide, albiglutide and dulaglutide. Exenatide and liraglutide injections, they are exclusively used for type 2 diabetes mellitus patients. Albiglutide and dulaglutide injections, once again used only in type 2 diabetes mellitus. What is glucagon-like peptide 1? GLP-1 is an incretin, and incretin is a chemical substance which is released from the gastrointestinal tract in response to ingested glucose. That means when food is taken orally, only then the incretins are released. When glucose is administered parenterally, that is intravenously, or any food is given parenterally, then the incretins are not released. GLP-1 is the most important incretin in human beings, which has the following actions. GLP-1 enhances the anticipatory release of insulin in response to the ingested meal. This results in a reduction in the mealtime glycemia or the postprandial blood glucose levels. GLP-1 inhibits the release of glucagon from the alpha cells of the pancreas. This results in a reduction in the fasting blood glucose levels. The incretins also slow the gastric emptying. This delays the absorption of glucose from the small intestine. And lastly, the incretins also suppress appetite, which definitely reduces the blood glucose levels. So the resulting action also is an reduction in the glycosylated hemoglobin levels, apart from the reduction in fasting plasma glucose levels as well as postprandial plasma glucose levels. GLP-1 by itself is not suitable for clinical use because it is rapidly degraded by the enzyme dipeptidyl peptidase 4, which is expressed on the capillary endothelial cells, the kidneys, liver, gastrointestinal tract and the immune cells. That is why we use stable analogs of GLP-1 in the form of exenatide, liraglutide, albiglutide and dulaglutide. The incidence of hypoglycemia is very less with GLP-1 receptor agonists because these agents enhance the release of insulin only at a higher blood glucose levels. That is, insulin release is glucose dependent. This is in contrast to sulfonylureas, which enhance the release of insulin from the pancreas irrespective of the plasma glucose levels. That means even if the blood glucose levels are very low, sulfonylureas will enhance insulin release, which leads to dangerous unpredictable hypoglycemia. This is not the case with GLP-1 receptor agonists. GLP-1 receptor agonists are the most effective antidiabetics for preserving beta cell function in type 2 diabetics. This is because the failure of incretins is clearly implicated in the pathogenesis of the beta cell dysfunction, which is directly related to the progression of the severity in type 2 diabetes mellitus. So the safest bet to preserve beta cell functions in type 2 diabetics is the utilization of GLP-1 receptor agonists. Since these agents delay gastric emptying, nausea and vomiting are very frequent. They definitely occur in 50% of all recipients. However, they decrease with time. Acute pancreatitis has been reported during the pharmacotherapy of these agents in type 2 diabetics. Exenatide is a synthetic resistant analog of GLP-1, and it is resistant to the action of DPP-4. It is inactive orally because it is a peptide, hence it is given subcutaneously. It acts for a period of 6 to 10 hours, so it has to be injected twice a day, once before breakfast and once before dinner in a dose of 6 to 12 milligram. Albiglutide and dulaglutide are long-acting GLP-1 receptor agonists. They are administered once weekly. Liraglutide has a tight binding to the plasma proteins, hence it acts for a longer time. It has to be given once a day. Liraglutide has been associated with a very good weight loss when used in type 2 diabetics, and this agent has also been approved as an anti-obesity drug. GLP-1 receptor agonists are basically used as adjuvants in the treatment of type 2 diabetics to enhance the hypoglycemic response. That means when the target glycosylated hemoglobin level, that is less than 7%, is not obtained with a particular anti-diabetic regimen in type 2 diabetics, then these agents are used as adjuvants to improve the response. They are also used as an alternative to insulin in type 2 diabetics when insulin induced increase in the body weight and insulin induced hypoglycemia become troublesome to the patients. Now let us learn the pharmacology of dipeptidyl peptidase 4 inhibitors, the agents being sitagliptin, vildagliptin, saxagliptin, teneligliptin, linagliptin and alogliptin. Sitagliptin and vildagliptin tablets, saxagliptin and teneligliptin tablets, alogliptin and linagliptin tablets. Now the incretins are rapidly degraded by this enzyme called dipeptidase peptidase 4. So interfering with the action of this enzymes potentiates the actions of the incretins, and hence orally active inhibitors of DPP4 have been developed, and they are indirectly acting insulin secretagogues. This is in contrast to the sulfonylureas, which are directly acting secretagogues. DPP4 inhibitors, because they enhance the activity of the endogenous incretins, especially GLP-1, they enhance the release of insulin in respect to the mealtime glycemia. They also reduce the release of glucagon once again through GLP-1, and this results in reduction of mealtime glycemia as well as fasting plasma glucose levels. Definitely there is a reduction in glycosylated hemoglobin levels also. However, they don't have any effect on gastric emptying, or they do not reduce the appetite also. This is in contrast to GLP-1 receptor agonist, which slow the gastric emptying and also reduce appetite. DPP4 inhibitors do not cause weight gain. They are body weight neutral. This is an advantage over sulfonylureas, which are associated with increase in the body weight. Now, DPP-4 inhibitors have another advantage over the insulin secretagogues, sulfonylureas, that is, they have a low risk of hypoglycemia, because once again, here, like GLP-1 receptor agonists, insulin release is glucose dependent. Only at high blood glucose levels, these agents enhance the release of insulin from the beta cells of the pancreas. The efficacy, which is measured as the lowering of glycosylated hemoglobin levels of DPP-4 inhibitors, is equivalent to that of metformin. These agents have been associated with the adverse effects of nasopharyngitis and cough because they interfere with the degradation of substance P. Sitagliptin is a selective and reversible inhibitor of DPP-4. Acute pancreatitis has been reported with sitagliptin. Acute pancreatitis has also been reported with the use of GLP-1 receptor agonists. Sitagliptin is excreted unchanged by the kidneys. Hence, the dose of this compound has to be reduced in patients with renal insufficiency. This agent is given in a dose of 100 milligrams a day. Vildagliptin is long acting because of covalent binding to DPP-4, and we have to reduce the dose of this drug in patients with moderately severe hepatic and renal disease. Hepatotoxicity has been reported with vildagliptin. To remind you, thiazolidinediol, so pioglitazone, has also been associated with hepatotoxicity. Vildagliptin has been administered in a dose of 50 to 100 milligrams once or maximum twice a day. Saxagliptin also acts for a long time because of a covalent binding to DPP-4. The dose of saxagliptin has to be reduced in renal insufficiency patients. It is administered in a dose of 5 milligrams once a day. Teneligliptin is a recently introduced DPP-4 inhibitor. It is administered in a dose of 50 to 100 milligrams once a day. Dose need not be reduced in renal insufficiency. This is in contrast with the previous agents. However, we should have precaution when we administer teneligliptin in patients with QT prolongation. However, teneligliptin has not caused any cardiovascular disturbances as yet. DPP-4 inhibitors have the plasma glucose reducing efficacy similar to that of metformin, and they are used mainly as adjuvants to already existing anti-diabetic regimens in type 2 diabetics. They are very useful as substitutes to sulfonylureas when sulfonylurea induced hypoglycemia and weight gain are troublesome to type 2 diabetic patients. This particular slide is regarding the presentation which was given earlier. This I had forgotten to tell you. The dosing of pioglitazone, bromocriptine and SGLT2 inhibitors. Pioglitazone is administered in a dose of 15 to 45 milligrams once a day. Bromocriptine is administered in a dose of 0.8 to 4.8 milligram once a day. It is administered early in the morning because it has to act on the circadian rhythm concerning the release of hormones which is regulated by the hypothalamo-dopaminergic system. The SGLT2 inhibitors like dapagliflozin, canagliflozin and empagliflozin are also administered once a day. Thank you, students. So in this presentation, I have discussed the pharmacology of those drugs which act based on incretins in the treatment of type 2 diabetics, that is the DPP-4 inhibitors, the GLP-1 receptor agonists. Thank you.